All right, guys, welcome back to First Term Podcast. Tonight we have a special guest with us, Jerry Mattox. He raced Daytona this week. He's coming on the show to give us some highlights, a little insight, and talk about his season upcoming. Jerry, thanks for coming on.
Hey, thank you for having me. And hey, what a great night for an inaugural show. This is going to be awesome. I wish you the best of luck with it, and thank you for choosing me to be your first interviewer. That's awesome. But yeah, Daytona, big weekend for vintage motocross. Just finished it up, and it. I personally had a great weekend. It was awesome. I wish you guys could have been there with me. The weather turned out perfect. I got to go down a few days early and train at a retired professionals track. His name's Eric Yarnell, and he blessed me to come to his house, private sand track, and let me turn some laps in. You know, guys, it's been a long, cold winter for me. It really has. It normally you guys think I live in the South. Well, I do, but even North Carolina took a hit this year with the cold weather, and I've not been able to train or ride since really November, and that was a real struggle for me to come off the couch and go do the Daytona Supercross. But we got it done. We got it done.
How'd everything go? What kind of results did you see down there? How many motos did you end up running?
Well, uh, in typical Jerry fashion, if I feel like if I get behind Andrew, I try and catch up and do everything in one day, which is not the right way to do things. I ended up racing three classes. I raced every vintage class I was eligible to race in. They had one novice class that they wouldn't let me in, but they let me in all the expert classes. So I raced all the age classes, and then of course I raced my normal class, the vintage non-age class. And guys, just so if you don't know about Daytona, it's not broken down by displacement. It's broken down. It's just open classes. It's every man for himself, everybody against everybody. Kind of a run what you brung, as long as you're in the legal age limit of the bike. And and historically, I'm the only 125 that's been out there. This year, we had a lot of 125s. It was really nice to look down the gate. There might be 14, 15 on the gate. You'd see three or four Elsinores, and I even saw a TM 125 and thought about you, Logan. It was awesome, a few YZ 125s and a couple of MXs out there. Yeah, so I think they might have been able to justify a 125 class. But no, I raced all the classes, which ultimately meant I was on the track six full 5 lap motos, three 4 lap practices, and so nine circulations of time on the Daytona Supercross track, which was awesome. I'm very proud to say that I ended up winning my class. I won the one class that I was trying to win, and then the other two classes I was using for practice. I still scored a second overall, and got a little tired late in the day, and I dropped off the podium to fourth. But I was super proud to ride as good as I did. So yeah, so success was good. You know, not gonna lie, guys, that's a lot of motos when you haven't ridden a
Yeah.
lot. So I got tired. I really did.
We were watching from the shop and on Racer TV, and that's what I was telling the boys at the shop. I'm like, man, you don't understand. That's a long day.
Oh, yeah.
That's grueling.
It was, and the track broke down towards the end. The track maintenance guys did a fantastic job. They did. They kept the track in great shape all day, but it just, you run that many motorcycles all day long, and four-wheelers, by the way, because we shared the track with the professional four-wheeler circuit, and they do their own amount of damage to the track. So yeah, that last moto was pretty rough. But no, I
Logan, do you
held
have
up
any questions
physically.
for Jerry?
Yeah. Obviously, I think a lot of us Finnish guys tuned into Daytona, and I work from home, and that was my little treat to myself for the day. I was like, hey, I get to watch all my homies, and you know, watching and being a rider, Jerry and Andrew, you guys know as riders, 4 inches of travel in the rear on a good day is not always the greatest feeling, but it's fun. Jerry, you and I both specifically know about a track get whooped out rough at the end of the day, and especially with doing 6 classes. Kind of walk through how you adjusted through the day on keeping your body in shape, the bike in good shape, and not smashing a downpipe. For people that aren't familiar with this yet, kind of walk them through and be like, just let us know your thought process.
Well, that's a great question, by the way, Logan, and I'm going to answer it the best I can. The first lap in practice is the best it's going to be all day. That's a fact. Okay. And the second lap of practice is pretty much how it's going to be for the rest of the day. It's just the track goes away pretty much that fast. But before we address the suspension, let's address the low pipe issue. Um, for those of you that know me well enough to know, when I raced Daytona last year, I actually chose to run the up pipe on the bike. I had a Mugen up pipe that I ran, and a lot of people think, "Oh, you're putting that Mugen pipe on there for horsepower." Actually, it decreases the horsepower, but it gives me the ground clearance. But more important, Logan, a low pipe, as you know, it'll roll on you in the ruts. You drop into a rut that gets a little deeper, which, by the way, they had modern classes too, so the ruts were there and they were coming and they were deeper than someplace. And anyway, so you drop into a rut, and your pipe, your low pipe, you actually feel the bike yaw, or it'll just roll on you, and it's a weird sensation if you've
Yeah.
not been on an old bike and you get on one. What was that just happened? Did both tires go flat right in the middle of a corner, or something weird happened? And so the bike would tend to roll on you. So we learned how to, either wheelie through the ruts, get your feet up on the pegs high, or just be aware of it. And that's that. As the track broke down through the day, there's not a lot of suspension adjustments that we can do to our bikes. For my bike in particular, I'm running Olane suspension in the rear, and it is what it is. I mean, you can set the preload on the springs, but once, unlike these guys that have these nice modern bikes, there's no rebound clickers or compression clickers, or you don't set the sag. That's not what you really you don't adjust for anything, and so there's really not much I can do. On the forks, on the other hand, is where I try to outsmart my competition on my forks, and the fact that I can add oil height, or I can
Yep.
add preload, depending. And so I started out the day with the fork in one position, and by the end of the day, I was doing everything I could to stiffen the fork to give me just a little bit, keep the bike up in the stroke better for the square edged bumps that were happening. Not gonna lie, guys, it's not just an Elsinore. It's pretty much any 1975 or earlier motorcycle. It's likened to running a jackhammer all day.
Yep.
And if you watch one of them poor construction guys downtown just all day, that's pretty much what 6 motos looks like on you. So you start to break down in your wrist and your forearms and your shoulders. You can really start to break down in that area, and it makes it difficult to hang on to the motorcycle. And modern guys have it happen some, but it's not uncommon for us, Logan, to just literally lose grip of the handlebars.
Mm.
I think back at Honda Hills when super pro rider Jamie Adams landed off a jump wrong and both hands came off the handlebars, and that was happening to me late in the race at Daytona, and I had to back it down. I just had to get smart and just back it down. A funny story, Andrew, I found myself landing off one of those big double jumps that you may have seen on TV, and I wish they'd got this on camera. I landed, my chin hit the crossbar pad, both hands come off the handlebars, Logan, and I've got a hold of my fork tubes with my chin on the crossbar.
Damn.
And I've got another jump coming, and I'm climbing back up to get to the handlebars just in the nick of time. We launch again. And that's when I said, "Oh no, no more of that," because that could have turned really ugly for me. But the short answer to your question is, I stiffened the forks up as I went along for the day. The 7 inches of travel was getting eaten up pretty quick just by the braking bumps. And that was really the challenge, was the braking bumps. But back to only having so much suspension, I liken it. If you guys have ever watched kids like Ryder, and maybe you did too, Logan, I don't know if you ever rode scooters, just little push scooters, and you go out to the skate park and you jump up and around. An Elsinore is a lot like one of those scooters. If you hit your downside, you really don't need suspension. Yep. But if you don't hit your downside, you're going to pay dearly for it.
Yeah.
So the number one thing for me, Logan, was late in the moto is make sure I hit my marks. And if I don't think I'm going to hit that mark, just don't even try. Don't even try. Just roll it. Live the race another day, so to speak. So that's how that went. But yeah, so the the race that I did win first place in, coincidentally or not, was the first race of the day. That was when I was fresh and early, and I kind of digressed as the day went on.
So I noticed I don't think Ryder made the trip. Um, how's he doing? I know he just had a 21st birthday, so big shout out to him.
Yeah,
We hope
Ryder
he's
is
doing
fantastic.
well.
Ryder has one major dilemma that he cannot escape. It's called college. Okay.
Yeah,
And he was right at end of term finals, just not a good time to pull him out of school and go live in Florida for a week. And he was disappointed that he didn't get to go, but at the same time, I think he was kind of happy about it. He's looking forward to his armor racing and his AMA racing as we go through the year. So he's certainly looking forward to that. And we have his Sportsman CR 125 completely built, furbished, ready to roll. I did the testing on that bike in Florida, and then we have built him a new 1980 CR 125 to run the GP 125 class on. So we'll be seeing Ryder on Saturday and Sunday this year.
that's great news. We were just talking earlier with Albert Newman about how Saturday had a lot of hype in a lot of the classes, and Sunday, I wouldn't say it falls off, but what this is going to do, I told him that GP class, there's going to be 5 to 7 guys that could win any given day. I think it's going to be really good racing. We're looking forward to it.
I think so too. I think one of the things that we have accomplished successfully over the last 3 years is building the sportsman classes up, in particular the 125 class. It's a stacked class, and it's so stacked, in fact, that there's a lot of other guys that race it that are choosing to kind of not show up because, well, they're kind of like, well, I'm not even going to break the top five now, where I used to be able to get in the top five. And I'm kind of one of those guys. I mean, it's so deep now that, if you can get on the podium in that 125 expert class, you've had a pretty good ride. But trying not to discourage the other 125 riders or intermediates that want to move up, because that's how you get faster. Is you come into a class where you're riding with people that actually go faster, and you will learn so much. I've learned from the best, and I've taught a few in the past couple of years. And so I'm looking forward to 2025 Sportsman 125 being the best it's ever been. And if we can take some of those riders and pair up with other great riders that naturally ride on Sunday as well, the GP 125 class and maybe the GP 250 expert classes will also become premier classes. That's what I would like to see, Andrew.
Yeah. Well, I totally agree with you, Jerry, because um, you know, growing up in Orma, I got to see what a lot of people call the heyday of the 125 sportsman and got to see that. But I tell a lot of people, it's like you need to come back and look at this. It's getting big again. And we're on that upstroke. And on my Sunday it was always Grand Prix, but getting into the big bore stuff on Ultima, I'm really excited this year because we got a lot of guys stepping back into the Ultima class. So in between, sportsmen through historic on Saturday and then, Grand Prix to next gen, I think you hit the nail right on the head. It's going to be a good year, and it's I can't wait to just see everybody. It's been a cold, hard winter here in Zanesville,
Yeah.
Ohio, and I miss you guys. That's
Well, I appreciate you saying that. Um, in year one for me, which was 2022, by the way, Logan, that's the year you and I met for the first time, I
yep.
think. Uh, that year was all about winning for me. Now it's all about the fellowship and the racing. The racing for me, I tell people I can be in eighth place, but I'm still smiling back there. I'm still smiling. If I'm riding clunker, I'm happy. And so it's not about just the drive to win. It's more about the drive to improve that class, keep building on that class. And now I'm going to throw some attention on those GP classes and see if I can't help build those a little bit up too. But not to take anything away folks, if you want to come see a good race, you come watch that Sportsman 125 class race. And, you know, if you're a betting man, you better know your odds because on any given day, there's about five guys that could pull that thing off. There's a few that are a little better than others, but at the same time, it's good. But hey, I look forward to it, and I'm coming in just trying to come in as strong and as healthy as I can be and be as competitive as ever. But for me, I want to do a lot of media like you guys are doing and just be able to keep building the sport and make it a fun place to ride. Because, and maybe in future podcasts, we can just talk about why person who's racing modern bikes right now might want to just come do some vintage racing. You don't have to quit your modern racing, but why would you do that? And I have a good answer for that whenever we want to pursue that direction.
Yeah. So let's do. I'm going to put you in the hot seat. All of our guests we put in the hot seat just a little bit, just to get a little
Okay.
insight here. So this season coming up, we discussed earlier. There's a lot of teams. Every year it seems like more people join. Even that Sportsman 125, I think you're going to see a lot more names, and really fast guys. To be honest with you, who do you see as some tough competition this year on Saturday and Sunday? Who will you be watching for?
Well, I can speak quite intelligently on the Sportsman 125 class. The other classes are still a little bit new to me, but if I focus on the 125 class in particular, see, it's real easy to throw names out because it's unfortunate or fortunate. You kind of are judged by your last race. That's kind of what everybody says. You're only as good as your last race. Well, if we go with who's good on their last race, you know, Jamie Adams would be a forefront runner to beating everybody. But let's not forget that Ryder Mattox still won more motos all year long than anybody did. And let's don't forget, they had to get through me before they could do anything. At Kevin Windham's round one last year, I went first overall. Jamie went second overall. So, I don't discount myself, but Jamie and Ryder were showing us some new skills this year that all of us could learn from. But I don't know if you guys were, for anybody that was at Barber's, might have saw fourth place. His name is Joseph Parker. Joseph Parker Butch and I built his bike for him. I've been helping Joseph from the first time he landed on the track. Not that he needs help, but we gave him guidance on setup on his bike and we've rode together and stuff. And Joseph just handed us our tails at Daytona in one class. He rode one class, he did two motos, and the two motos that he did, he there's nobody had anything for him. So that's what excites me, guys, is when you see new blood come in, and there's others. There's others because as I've run around the country and I've gone and I've raced Unadilla or I've raced AMA Vintage Days, or other. I don't want to call them novelty races, but they're one-off races. Guys, there's people that show up there on 125s that can fly. And many times they beat me, and sometimes they don't. But let's not forget our friend up in Ohio named Eddie. I can never pronounce his last name, Logan. You might.
Some days I get it, some day I just call him
Yeah,
Eddie
but
Star.
but I call him
Zach.
Eddie S. And Eddie S can beat anybody on any given day. Let's don't forget about our other Eddie down in Tennessee. Eddie Branch can light your butt up whenever he wants to as well.
Oh
And
yeah.
there's others that are just like him. Um, a lot of people have kind of come to know me, and though I'm popular, the one things that a lot of my competitors say about me is it's not whether I'm really faster or not, is that I'm so consistent. You can set your watch by my lap times. And so I kind of leave it to you to figure out how to go faster than me. I'm going to go do whatever speed I'm going to do, whatever that may be, and that's where I'm going to be. And if it's worth the first place, awesome. If it's worth 10th place, so be it. But that consistency sets me kind of as the benchmark. And so everybody, they're all super pumped, like, hey, I beat Mattox. Well, good. That's great. And I the one thing that I do every time I get beat, Andrew, I don't know if you've noticed this or not, is I pull the guy off that beat me and I hug his neck, because nothing does this sport better than not letting just one guy win and win and win. You need 5 or 6 guys out there to keep it interesting, to where it's just going back and forth all the time. So to get back to your original question, who do I see being the top competition? Let's not forget about Reed Borgfield and his daddy, Tim Borgfield. At
Yep.
any second, Reed will light you up. And nobody beats Timmy to the first turn. It's just like, and so, there's that, but there's so many others, so many others. I mean, there's a guy up I don't know if he lives in Ohio. His name's Mike Boja. Do you know Mike Boja,
Yep.
Logan?
Yep. I know, Mike.
If Mike ever decides to come on, and I'll tell you something else that's coming. Tommy Vinokin's coming. And listen, we're all due a terrible ass whooping when Tommy wakes up. It's just that
Yeah.
simple. And
Buddy, I
hey, I
got
have a
word
saying, Logan.
Tom.
You're too young to appreciate this, but I have a saying. If they could beat you in the 80s, they can beat you right
Yeah.
now.
Well,
And
yeah.
Tommy Vinokin could smoke me in the 80s. So, I just lucky to breathe his oxygen. So there's that. And so you got so many. But flash forward over to Sunday, honestly don't have a good answer for you. I mean, if I look in the history books, the Sportsman 250 expert class, well, that's not Sunday, but let me finish that first. The Sportsman 250 expert is, again, Jamie Adams and others. And then the open expert classes, I mean, they're all fast. I have a saying, Logan, and I tell this to the people that challenge me. A lot of people come to me and go, "Oh, I guess you just ride the 60 plus class, Jerry, or the 50 plus class." I said, "No, the class that I ride is not age specific to the human being. It's only age specific to the motorcycle." And then I go on further to say, I have a 60-year-old on my left and a 16-year-old on my right, and they both haul ass. It's just like you can't judge who's going to win based on youth in most cases. And but going into Sunday and the GP classes, man, it's just up in the air, Andrew. I don't know how to answer that question yet, because I just don't know who's building what right now. But Kevin Wyndham's, the show will be on, and we'll find out well, at least we'll know what round one looks like.
Yeah, it's going to be good. We're excited. Funny story, real quick, just to touch back on Tom Benolkin. I talked to Tim Borgfield. He built him a 100, and
Mhm.
he stopped through Missouri on the way to Texas. Word has it, he took off as usual in Tom Benolkin fashion, and apparently the bike broke in half. He was
Yeah.
riding it so hard.
Yeah. He snapped the frame. He was
Welcome to
smoking.
vintage racing, Tommy.
Well, he was smoking the modern boys. He was running a modern class on that 100, and right there where on I think it's an 82 YZ 100, it comes down tube and comes into the double cradle. It snapped
Yeah.
right there, and
Yeah.
I mean that's nuts. We know what that takes to do that, but I don't think the majority of even modern racers understand, like, to break it at that spot. That's nuts.
Yeah. But it happens.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, old Clunker, he's been structurally modified. He's not genetically the same as he was from the showroom. That bike's been flipped upside down and got cross bracing happening. Both foot pegs have been reinforced. It is a lot of I took a pretty hard tumble in Oklahoma. I think, Andrew, I think you witnessed it, and I didn't realize it, but when we got home and took the bike apart to service it to get it ready for Daytona, I had snapped the backbone in the frame pretty good, right where the rear of the tank bolts on and it splits apart to separate where the air filter and everything is. Right in there, I had cut that frame, just bashed it right in half. And so, everything comes off, the welder comes in, and we just kind of reinforce it. And so that's
That's
the thing
a
in vintage racing. You just gotta check those
Oh
welds
yeah.
all the time.
that's a good time. I think you want to share any info on your sponsors that help you keep Clunker running, up and going.
Well, my sponsors have been so good to me, Andrew. I want for nothing. It seems like in no particular order. Um, Gordon McCaffer does my stands, and they're so important to me. And I start with Gordon, and this is why. Uh, Kind of make him very important to me because without that stand, I can't service the bike. Because on a vintage bike, you just don't plop it up on a milk crate like you do in the old days, or a nice fancy, Motofox stand or something that you have for a modern bike. It has to prop by the frame cradle so the downpipe can clear and you can get it up on off the so you can service the wheels and change the oil or whatever you may be doing to it. So Gordon McCaffer at McCaffer Welding is awesome. Then getting the hard parts that are clutch plates, pistons, rings, things like that uh, remx.com, Dan Gray gets me all of those parts for me and make sure that I'm well stocked in my van. So if I need something, I pretty much have two of everything of those types of parts. To keep all of those parts oiled properly, AMSOIL. My distributor is Russell Waters out of North Carolina, is my AMSOIL distributor, and he ensures that I have two major products: AMSOIL Dominator for my two-stroke oil and AMSOIL Dirt for my gearbox oil. And then of course there's Butch's, and Butch is again, he travels to the races with me. He was with me at Daytona, and we just do testing and ensure that the crank tolerances are right, the cylinder tolerances are right. I like to say Butch makes the motor rotate, and then I tune the motor. So it's kind of, his job is make sure all those gears and sprockets and internals are in the nice place, and then I go do all the carburation and the jetting and the tuning and the ignition timing and everything it takes to get that motor to be as sweet as possible. We can't forget our Borgfields over at Rocket Ship Racing. None of us, if Timmy Borgfield's around you, nobody goes thirsty. That's what I like to say, or you don't stop laughing. And for those, both of those are very entertainment for me. And Paul Parkinson of Replicated Motorcycle Parts, those guys are really, really, um, you know, Kickstarters, gear shifters, things like that it's hard to go by. Or how some of these collector people can be. They want so much money for an OEM Kickstarter for an Elsinore. I don't have time for that. I need a Kickstarter that starts the bike. That's what I need. And Paul keeps me dressed out in all the perfect bling for that. So I have other sponsors I could go on, but those are my biggies that keep me at the race. And the last person I'm gonna mention is our great friend Charlene Campbell. She keeps the graphics on it, makes it look good for me. I never am without my stickers and my number plates and stuff like that. So it's all those little things like that add up to making a really good team. Then of course there's you, Andrew, who supports us with the media. The media sponsors are just awesome, and the photographers. Think about all the photographers that mortalize us or demoralize us, whatever. Sharon Bean and Bobby Hedge and on and on and on. All these great photographers are out there. Paula Kyle up in New York. They're just everywhere. Those are the people that you don't think of them as sponsors, Andrew. And sometimes, a lot of people say, well, why would you say that Vintage Factory is a sponsor? Well, let me tell you why. Because Vintage Factory and the photographers offer a platform where my paying sponsors can gain benefit from it. So I thank you, Andrew. I think that kind of makes you as much or even more important than a cash paying sponsor. Oh, I did get one new sponsor. Did you see that? Did you see who I picked up? Bucky's.
Did you? I did.
I got it.
Actually, I saw the post.
I
How'd that
got it.
come
I got
about?
Bucky's. Now, did I get a factory ride from Bucky's? No, but I got $100 gift card. I'll take it. So, and I got a real nice letter back from them and thanking Ryder for his contribution to the Bucky's support program. And and in their appreciation, they sent propaganda like T-shirts and stickers and a nice little $100 gas card. And again, that might be the only gas card I ever see, Logan, from them, but at least it was something. But I don't
Yeah,
know. You never know.
yeah,
I know
it's it.
the videos did well.
Yeah.
I
Well, we've
think
learned the
one of
formula. If we need more Bucky's money, we'll just dress Ryder up again. That's what we'll do. Every time we
yeah,
get low on Bucky money, we'll just put Ryder back in the suit and throw him out there.
yeah. So Logan, anything you want to ask Jerry before we wrap up?
Um, no, I think, he touched base well. I mean, I'm excited to ride with everybody. This is a nice thing that we're doing. This is the first episode, so I'm excited to see where this goes. And honestly, it's been a weird winter. Ohio's usually pretty cold, but this year we got a lot of snow, so it was kind of hard to even get out and ride. So just to get on and hear everybody, hear how you did at Daytona, Jerry. Obviously, I got to watch it, but to actually get to talk to you about it and hear it, that makes it fun. I think, you know, between everybody tonight, um, there's a good future for Arma. Jerry, got me into that 125 class. I've always been a big bore guy. I mean, when I first met Jerry, the first thing he said, he goes, "Is this your TM 400?" I said, "Yeah."
Yeah,
And
I remember.
and a buddy let me borrow a TM 125, and I said, "Damn it, Jerry, I'm gonna race with you guys in the 125 class." And
I encourage it. I encourage it um, for 1,000 reasons, but the biggest reason is when we were all your age, Logan, or even younger than you. I mean, obviously you're an adult, but when we started racing, we were about 14 or 15 years old. We all rode 125s. That's what we rode. And the gates were stacked. I mean, you're talking 40 bike gates at a local race. And everybody out there is on exactly what you would think. CR 125s, TM 125s, YZ 125s, MX 125s, Penton 125s, Mako 125s. And it was and I'll finish up by saying this. Logan, it was a full blown mod class
yeah,
by necessity because the way you won was to have a better bike than somebody else because we were all so even on those motorcycles. And the 125 class of the day, you would see the strangest contractions on these bikes because we were trying to figure out how to make that suspension taller, bigger, better, those motors faster, and you know, bikes wouldn't make 3 laps before they would just explode and blow up because we were trying something that might have been a little too hot, and suspension chains would fly off because we'd try and turn that 4 inches into 9 inches and put the swing arm in the wrong angle and everything was just horrible. But it was a mod class. And with that said, those bikes, Andrew, back in the day, would run on an amateur, would run 20, 30-minute motos. And everybody talks about, well, how do you get an Elsinore to run longer than 10 minutes? Well, you've seen I've accomplished that. My bike rarely fails. And I ran it at a 1 hour hare scramble at Muddy Creek and it ran fine. And I run multiple classes, 6 motos at Daytona. These bikes can go a lot longer. I really want to petition ARMA on Saturday because it's kind of an easier day. I want 125, 250, and 500cc expert classes to run twice the laps of any other class, period. And I want every class to be a full mod class. As long as it's period correct, bring it. Forward mount swing arms. Excuse me. You want to put 9 inches of travel on the back of your CR 125? Go right ahead. It's probably not the smartest thing you'll do, but knock yourself out. And and you'll find if they did open that rule book up, you wouldn't see me change a thing about clunker because I've got clunker dialed. But man, I'm so tired of if we're going to bring kids into it and we're going to make this thing an expert class where nobody's bickering and moaning because somebody's got an extra inch of travel or they got a better carburetor or they got, a pipe that might be a Mugen pipe, an up pipe that whatever. That's how it was in 1975. You rolled to the line, you would just look down the line and you'd just be examining everybody's bike, trying to figure out what's the next hot move to make that thing go faster. I'd like to see Arma bring that. I'd like to see Arma bring that back to just the expert classes. The intermediate classes can still be the same rule book and they can do the laps they want to do. But if you're going to run 125 expert, I invite you to just mod that bike out the best you can. Maybe the only rule book, the only rule is it's got to stay within 125 cc's or whatever, 130 cc's, whatever it is with the max service limit on those bikes. And
yeah.
that's it. So that would be awesome for me. I would love to see that.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're getting close, buddy. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody. We were talking earlier about kind of the ritual, the things we do on the weekends at the tracks. I think we're going to be a lot busier filming, but you get up, excuse me, you see Tracy, Miss Mona. The other ritual I have is we always find us a good steakhouse. So I'm looking forward to those Saturday nights. And yeah, man, they can't get here soon enough. I appreciate you coming on the first episode.
Thank you for having me.
Yes,
Thank you for
sir.
having me. And yeah, I'm kind of a carnivore diet kind of guy, so that steakhouse is always looking good to me, you know. And me and you, we don't skimp. We go to the good ones. So I know
That's
that.
right, buddy.
So
Yeah.
that's
Well, I'll
great.
tell you
Well, if
what.
there's any other questions for you, just go ahead and ask me. Otherwise, I just want to say thank you again to everybody that, tolerates me, listens to me, has any ounce of belief in me, and has supported me for the last 3 years. Ryder and I have accumulated 9 national championships, 5 ARMAs, and 4 AMA national championships in that period. And every bit of it was done with love and a smile on her face, not 1 ounce of animosity. Nobody argues with each other. It's just a wonderful luxury sport that will remind you of 1975, 1976 again. It really will. And in closing, I would like to challenge Logan to find us a drummer, and we put together a 70s and 80s rock band to perform at key events this year. That would be cool.
I'm sure I can dig somebody up.
I can too.
Sounds
That'd
good,
be good.
boys. Well, I'll tell you what, from here, we're just going to go ahead and close the show with the three of us. We want to thank everyone for tuning in to the first episode, First Turn Podcast. You can find this on Vintage Factory TV on YouTube, Facebook, Vintage Factory, and all of our other platforms. And we look forward to bringing you some good content. Logan, we appreciate everything as a co-host today. Jerry, thanks
Thank
for
you.
coming. And we'll see you guys next time.
We'll see you guys.
Bye bye.